guest tonight is Linears, as he is known in the cartooning world, or Ricardo Siri, as he is known in town. And we're here to celebrate the English language edition of the fourth Macanudo collection of cartoon strips called Olga Rules. Ricardo was born and raised in Argentina, and Macanudo first appeared in Argentina's newspaper La Nación in 2002, and Olga Rules in 2006. But even with a dozen internationally acclaimed books to his credit, his comics are only recently appearing here in the States, and they're quickly gaining traction. I have to mention that we got Facebook greetings to pass along from Ecuador.
Oh, yes, those Ecuadorians, yeah.
So his artwork has graced the covers of the New Yorker magazine, and he had a lovely strip about his daughter starting at Marian Cross that was in the New York Times Book Review last fall. It was really wonderful.
Oh.
And there are also 3 award-winning books for children in the States, along with the now 4th volume of the adult strips. And we are very thankful for the Center for Cartoon Studies in White River for bringing him and his lovely family to the Upper Valley. As I say, this is the 4th book, and we meet Olga. And Olga only says Olga, but she's very expressive with this very one word. I'm interested to hear more about it. His humor runs the gamut from everyday to political and lots of places in between, and I just wish our local paper would carry the strip, so maybe we could all rally for them to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Ricardo.
Thank you, Liza. Okay. So I know you came here to see who is this guy. We've seen him around, because this is not like any of my talks. This community is not huge, so you all here or there must have heard. There's an Argentinian cartoonist for some reason. Some people I met outside of the Norwich school, you know, Marian Cross. So you must. I think 90% of you guys here are like, who is this guy? I will try not to curse a lot, because I'm I do comics for kids, and people think, oh, they must be so sweet, and we are not. And but so yeah, we curse a lot in our household. We try not to in front of the kids, and we never manage. We really try, but you'll see them. They are like superstars, my family, so they'll come like in the middle of my speech, just because they want for you guys to clap. Because Angie, my wife, she's very, she loves attention. She loves people like noticing her. So as soon as you guys see like a woman with 3 little beautiful girls, you just clap. You go, hey, Angie, hey. She's gonna love that. Okay. She's running a little bit late. So I try to begin at the beginning. How did I end up in Norwich, Vermont, doing comics about blue monsters? Like, let's explain this, because this is what I do to explain it to myself. Like, I'm very cheap. I will not pay a psychoanalyst. I just will tell you guys, and then you guys can write down some, on my Facebook page. Yeah, I think you need some pills or whatever. So I, growing up as a little kid, I was a shy, introverted, little Argentinian kid. And my father, who was born in London, just because my grandfather was working there, he was born in London the last day of the Second World War, came out in the newspaper as a peace baby. And my father always kind of, had this link to England and to English and to London, and, he would, in the 80s, would say like, oh, Lady D is marrying, Charles, and I was like, I don't care. But he seemed to care for some reason. And so in his mind, it was very important to him that I would, have good English. So I'm sorry, he did not. But he tried. And the way he tried to, make me learn English was, Ricardo, you're reading a lot. You're interested in your little Stephen King books. So let's make a deal. Whatever you read in Spanish, you have to buy with your allowance. Whatever you read in English, I'll buy for you, you know? And he made a huge mistake. Because the thing is, he thought he was bringing up this little, but my father is a lawyer, right? Kind of conservative, you know, like, you know, old school lawyer. There were like 5 jobs in his brain for his little firstborn boy. Like, maybe he'll be a lawyer, maybe a doctor, you know, maybe that's it. You know, let's hope he's not an architect. That was as far as, and and so he decided that it would be great for my English if I started reading in English. So he would buy me Stephen King books. The first thing I read was It. I was 11 years old. And, you know, Stephen King was doing way too much cocaine when he wrote It. I don't think it's a read for an 11-year-old. But I learned a lot from that. And also he would buy me this thing that he thought he was giving me English, but then what he gave me was this, you know, comic thing. Because he would buy me Mad Magazine and Calvin and Hobbes and The Far Side, like, you know, all those guys, you know. And Bloom County, this is a strip I loved when I was, you know, in the early 80s, and I was reading about, like, you know, Gary Hart and G.N. Patrick, and I have no idea till this day who those guys are. But, you know, so I grew up reading those, and I loved the daily strip format. That what for me was like the perfect format. Also, there's this very famous Argentinian strip called Mafalda. That's a big thing, big deal down there. So my father thought he was making me into a very well English spoken lawyer, but he derailed this thing horribly into cartooning. So I tried to be a lawyer for a little while. I, you know, started studying law. It's as close as I will ever know the transvestite experience, I guess, because I felt I was in the body of someone else. So I you know, go trans, and and then I started studying advertising. It's a little bit more creative, but, you know, you have to make a living. Of course, comics is not the answer. And then at some point I was 20, 21, 22. I must have gone nuts or whatever, and I said, like, no, that's it. I need to be a cartoonist. I know that the only way to become a cartoonist in Argentina is to draw 110% of your time. There's no way I'm gonna be a cartoonist just by, you know, waiting for inspiration or whatever. And then that's the trick. In Argentina, it's a very small industry. For some reason, there's a lot of amazing cartoonists come from Argentina, and generally they do amazingly well in Europe or even the States. But there's a very small industry in Argentina, and there's only like 10 guys that have like the job, which is the 10 guys, 5 per newspaper, that publish in the newspaper in Buenos Aires. So there are 2 big newspapers, La Nación and Clarín, and there's like 5 guys at the end of each page, and they make a living. You know, they get a check every month out of drawing comics, and people who don't read comics read those guys. They become somewhat well known. So you have to aim for those 10 slots. And the thing is, the people who are in those slots, they, you know, don't leave the slots, because it's the only job that there's there. You know? So you basically, if you want to be a cartoonist in Argentina, you have to wait for your heroes, who are these amazing cartoonists, to die, basically. So you go to these talks, you know, and you see, oh, he looks, yeah. I am sure, like absolutely sure, there must be like 20, 25 cartoonists in Argentina waiting for me to die. Right? They must laugh, oh, Olga, but if he died, if only he died, I could get that spot. So it was a shot in the dark. Like, you know, in the 90s, also all the comics magazines were closing. We're in the middle of this horrible economic tragedy. Oh my God! Oh, they're here! Oh, that's Angie! Oh, Angie! All the way in the front, Angie! Everybody wants to see you. Yeah, I told you guys, she's like an attention grabber, you know. Come, oh, say hi, Angie. Hi, girls. Hi, Clemmy. Hi, Matilda. Yeah, she's not shy at all. Hello, guys. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Superstars. Okay. So it's very hard to get into those newspapers. And I was lucky because the fact was that the newspaper that I ended up working in, La Nación, had all these Argentinian cartoonists. I had one American strip, which was Zits. You know, yeah, it's like way better than mine. But what happened was, a friend of mine who was publishing the newspaper, was talking to the owner of the newspaper, said like, "You guys have to publish this guy. He's amazing. He's la la la." She was lying. Because I have never done a daily strip, but just a weekly, and then she said, "Well, this if you guys don't take him, he's about to go to Clarín, Compton," which was a lie because I already been there and I had come back, and then the owner of the newspaper said, "Well, the problem here is that since this strip that you said that we should not run anymore, Zits." It's syndicated. An American strip is super cheap. It's like $200 a month. And very smartly, my friend said like, "Oh, my friend will do it for $200 a month. He'll do 30 strips just for $200. Yeah, And that's how I got in, like super cheap. Now they are paying me like $280, $290. Angie knows. But that's how I got my feet in there. And then I started doing this strip, Macanudo. Macanudo is a Spanish, not even Spanish, it's an Argentinian word. And comes kind of from slang. Some other countries also use it. And it's something you say when everything's fine, How was this guy? Oh, he's Macanudo, we had a Macanudo time. That was Macanudo. And when I started publishing, this strip was in 2002. And 2002 was the worst moment in Earth. I don't know, well, now you guys, but you're trying to make it interesting again. But 2002, it was, the millennium has just, kind of happened. So everybody their minds was kind of apocalyptic. And then, have the towers and, Bush was going, I'm going to invade somewhere. And in Argentina, we had a huge economic crisis. Everything was destroyed. People, the rest of the world were like clapping, like, what the? It was amazing. They still study the Argentinian case in economic universities as to the what thing. Yeah, sorry, because what our president, a little Argentinian story. You didn't know you were coming for that. Our president before had decided that the 1 peso was going to be exactly the same as $1 by law. Turns out that's not a good idea. That's not how you run an economy. So we destroyed our economy. We had 5 presidents at the same time, the towers and I decided, okay, so the newspaper is this ball of pessimism. Everything is horrible and we're all gonna die, and that's what every page said. I thought, okay, but at the end, let's have like 10 centimeters, square centimeters of optimism. Like that's my punk, that's me going against the flow, or my punk version of being optimistic. I don't know. I'm sorry, punks. I have one punk friend here, the closest friend to punk I have. But that's the thing. The status quo was everything is horrible, and I was like, okay, stop it, because everything is horrible. But I was with Angie. We were drinking wine. We had no kids. We had time. It was a very beautiful time in my life. So I came to this idea that the big thing, the newspaper is there to cover the big things, the horrible things, the Donalds and the Vladimirs, but my this little part of the newspaper was going to be used for the small things. I was like a journalist for you know how when you sharpen a pencil and you smell it, it's super excellent. Like that was my discovery, like my scoop. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna draw about that, you know. So Macanudo kind of became this thing. Then I started, you know, publishing it in the newspaper, which was, imagine, my father for a while there was a little bit scared, my mother too, was how long will we have to provide for this 28-year-old kid? And incredibly, a couple more years, and then I was making money. But then also, and this is also, you know, if there are some young kids here and you want to go into comics and, you know, what can we learn about, you know, how to become a comic artist, what the best thing I have to say for a young, you know, comic artist wannabe is marry a lawyer. This, you know, thanks, Ange. I'm a feminist since before, you know, the Me Too movement, way before. Like, I'm a feminist since I was born. And so I was very fine in my early years of $200 per month of money bringing to the household, of being kept by my lawyer wife. She would go out and work, and I would go, hey, I'm drawing some penguins, you know, you trust me. And Angie was like, yeah. And she's a feminist too, so yeah. So go feminism. Okay, and I started publishing these things in Argentina. Again, my biggest fantasy, like what blew my mind, was to get a job in a newspaper and then be able to publish books, because I love the book format, and I think the strips read better in book format because it's kind of a strange strip. I will start to describe it in a little while. So my biggest fantasy was that, you know, make some books, and just if I was going to go nuts, get published like in Uruguay, you know, or Chile. And I could tell my father, I'm an international success. I told you. And so this is crazy. You know, the fact that the whole trip ended up bringing us all the way up to here, and, you know, publishing my books in different areas of the world. And I have no idea why or how, because I will talk a little bit about the strip, Macanudo, Olga rules. You can buy it. And so the way this strip works is, when I decided I wanted to do a daily strip, of course, I thought for a long time. First, I was doing a weekly strip. I was very influenced by a lot of, you know, American comics, the early ones, and also like the stuff I started reading in the 90s. I would come across, I don't know, from Mouse to Daniel Close to, you know, oh, you are so pretty. And so I would be influenced by all these guys, and then I have to decide, what do I do as a daily strip? Like, you know, and do I do a kid strip? I love The Far Side. The Far Side is not the kid strip. Then I decided I will do everything. You know, I don't care. Nobody, like, the cool thing about Argentina is you're not working for a syndicate, or for, you know, you don't have to. Also, once you're in the newspaper, I think they stop reading your strip. I really think they don't care very much. Oh, the drawings are nice. Yeah, so you just send stuff. You never get feedback. The weirdest thing that happened to me, and this is like a really strange one, was when I was doing the weekly strip in another newspaper. I once published a strip where in the strip asked Angie to marry me. You know, and I, you know, one morning I unplugged the phones because I knew my father or mother would read this and go like, oh, Ricardo. So I unplugged the phones, had the little ring thing, you know, I bought some, you know, croissant. And she was sleeping, you know, and this thing comes in the newspaper, and it was just me standing. No, it was a 2-floor thing. You know, Tony Millionaire, I stole from that guy. So it was like a 2-floor thing, and it was on the top strip, it was just all these characters beginning a joke and then looking down and going like, oh, he's went mad or whatever. And in the lower strip, it was just me, Angie, will you marry me? Oh, and so I come to Angie's bed with a little thing, she was sleeping. And I'm like, Angie, wake up, yeah. And she goes, huh? And so I give her, I shoved a, newspaper in her face. I go, read this. And she goes, and what she told me was, she was sleeping, so she went like that, and she said yeah, I'm not gonna read this. I'm gonna say it's funny and then go back to sleep. So she was for a long while going yeah. And I guess her name caught her eye, and then I went to the newspaper thinking someone would go hey, dude, way to go, you're gonna get married, yay! Nobody read it. Nobody read it. They had no idea. So that was excellent. Because you feel a lot of freedom suddenly. If you think, they're not reading, I'm going to have fun now. So I started publishing this strip, and I wanted it to be as free as that I could do anything within the format, this little rectangle, So I did not want it to be a strip without characters, but I wanted characters, but I also wanted to be able to do what the Far Side does, just one-offs. And then I wanted to, if I want to do a little story, a 10-day or even 30-day story, I will do it. I have done some poetry, where I illustrated poems that I like in the strip. People write to me, said, please stop with the poem. Go back to Olga, please. This is horrible. I don't care. I have had, when Matilda, my first daughter, was born, of course, I was not going to work for 10, 15 days, so I asked other cartoonists, hey, will you do Macanudo? They were very nice. I did not pay them, but, I think I exchanged drawings for their work. At some point I went on a vacation and I decided, okay, I'm not, because generally when you go on a vacation in Argentina, you rerun old stuff. I thought, no, it's nicer if you ask, people to, just people on Twitter, hey, who wants to draw Macanudo? I thought I was going to get 20 or 30 strips to run, and I got 500. Yeah. So I could have retired or taken a way longer vacation, but they told me I couldn't. So I had to, it was way more work. So the way, as you can see, the way the strip, this is a visual aid, the way it's every day I draw differently. And for me, it's the way I wake up, the way I kind of, you're kind of confused at the beginning, you dreamt something strange, Freudian or whatever, and you use that confusion to come up with some idea. And I'm never the same guy every morning. Some mornings I'm angry, some mornings I'm confused, some mornings I'm happy. So the way the comics will show up, or the characters, is very different. And I try not to force anything, And the only thing I'm looking for when I do a strip, I brought some other visual aids. Let's see. So, let's see. This is made in Norwich. Yes. This is in the inspiration I get from this community. This is a guy, and the mustache starts wandering around. I have no idea. I just grabbed it. I did not know it was such a stupid one. So the way I just sit down and wait for something, some aspect of it. There's a lot of different aspects that go into a daily strip. Something has to take me by surprise. There's one thing at least in the idea that I go huh? That's strange. I'll draw that and see what happens. For example, I have one character that I made. I stopped making it because they told me to. But the character, it was really good at saving time, because the name of the character was Captain Deja Vu, And so you would just draw oh my God, that's Captain Deja Vu. And they would do copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, and that's it. That's it. You just have to draw it one time. It was excellent. but it got all like super fast. I tried to come up with sidekicks, like Kid Rewind or whatever, but eventually it was done. But then one time I thought like, oh, I think this would be interesting just to draw like the classical superhero moment of, he's flying and, well, who's that? What's that? A bird, a plane? And then they say, no, that's Captain Deja Vu. And then the next day, I did the same exact drawing. And on the next day, I would say, oh, what's a plane? A plane? No, that's Captain. Wait a second. And that was it. That was the joke. But for me, what was interesting about that is I never seen a daily strip that the punchline was the next day. I thought that was hilarious. Like, nobody else thought that, but I thought it was, But what was way funnier was that when I published the first day, like, no joke, just, hey, that's Captain Deja Vu, and that's it, no joke. People on Facebook were like, yeah, haha, you're such funny. You are so funny, Liniers, how you kill me. And I was like, I did nothing, so I could get away. Let's see what else did I bring here. Well, there's this other character. I love kids comics. I love from Calvin and Hobbes, as I said, to Peanuts. Like I read those, obsessively for a while. Charlie Brown. I love everything. Even Dennis the Menace. Little kids doing strange stuff. And the little cat thing, that kind of works. I love Mutts also. I love, Crazy Cat. So I thought, oh, let's have another black cat thrown in there. Also, I never thought I was going to publish in the United States. So, and so that this little girl called Henrietta, kind of looks like Clemmy, and Fellini is her cat. So that's another aspect of the strip. Let's see. There they go again. Oh well. This is not a strip, but it's also local, so I brought it. Yeah. A little bit. Let's go out for a second of the daily strip guy and into a very strange thing that happened to me just because I came here. I have this incredible luck. I'm always kind of, stupidly standing somewhere, and someone will tap on my shoulder and go like, would you like to do a New Yorker cover? And I go like, yeah, sure. That's how it works always for me. So I moved here with Angie. We came to the Center for Cartoon Studies in White River Junction. When I found out there was a center for like a master in 2 years of people that go in there and draw comics like crazy, and it snows so they can't do anything else, and they're all white and pale, and and I was like, yeah, I want to go there. Those are my people. It was like the mothership, and so nicely enough they offered a fellowship. So we came here a couple of years ago with 3 girls and Angie. And it was this incredible adventure, So I ended up here doing stuff with them. Then after a year, we decided, well, let's not make it like a long vacation. Let's, meet people, make friends, let's get into the community, And then a friend of mine, there's a guy from Córdoba, Argentina, that teaches Borges in Dartmouth. And so this guy tells me, okay, you could do a talk. So I went there, did this, tried to be funny, Olga, this and that, did the talk, and then he said, oh, you could do also maybe a course. I thought like, yeah, I could expand my knowledge into like a 3-day thing, because he said like maybe it's Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I'm like, I could do 3 days of saying stuff, I can talk. And I went, yeah, sure. And then some time passed. And I was, yeah, I'm gonna do the course. And then I got together with him, and he said, like, no, it's not 3 days. It's a term, man. It's 2.5 months. It's like 30 classes on Latin American comics. You already said you knew. I went, oh, okay. So I started rereading a lot of stuff, going like, oh my God, I better be prepared for this. And it was an excellent, amazing experience, and I really enjoyed it. I hope the students that ended up in my class enjoyed it too. But there was one thing that I have to share with you guys, because it's, the thing with my father and he expecting the little lawyer and having to explain to all his other normal friends, yeah, well, he draws elves, and penguins, and it was, but he's now, publishing here, and their friends was like, yeah. And now they came here this winter while I was doing my little class, and they stayed in a hotel, and my mother hears my father talking with a person from the lobby, and she says, oh, what brings you here? And my father blurted out with so much pride, oh, my son is a professor. He finally, after 44 years, he's a professor. He definitely did not, went into what area I was professoring about. But he was super happy, so, we are even Steven now. He's very happy. But you can see Olga there too as well. So let's talk a little bit about Olga. Olga is this character that popped up in Macanudo, and the way it showed up was, I remember being a kid, being 6, 7 years old, and the first days of going to school, and you're scared because now you forget when you grow up, but when you're a kid you live with giants. Now you think, oh, giants, they are made up, oh, big FG or whatever. But no, they existed only a long time ago. And I remember going into, outside to play, and if you're in first grade, the guy from 7th grade, he was huge. He was a monster. And I was like, oh my God. And then they push you, you're a tiny 6-year-old, skinny, I used to be, kid. And they go like, go play with all these like hundreds of kids that you don't know and giants running around. And I remember being scared of the giants, and then for a while I remember going to school with a little Han Solo action figure, because if you're with Han Solo, it's fine. He can deal with anything. So, and I remember putting him on the outside of the pocket so he wouldn't suffocate. But also that would, of course, make me a target. Hey, you kid, you little dog. And so I was kind of thinking about that, and thinking about this idea that sometimes grown up we have, childhood, being a kid is such a magical time. It's also kind of a scary, strange time. And I wanted to do something about that. So I came up with this little kid who was being bullied in school or whatever, and then he made up this imaginary friend, and I kind of drew this hairy thing. And I can do something that I realized later. So the way it's to do, I have some paper here. I had some paper here. Let's go here. So the way I made up this monster was, I had the little kid, there. Okay. And then I drew this. I have no idea where I was going, like all the teeth, and then I went, oh, hairy, and the thing kind of showed up. And then I thought, like, okay, what does it look like, Olga. I have no idea why I named it Olga. In Argentina, it's kind of a name there, but it's not a very popular name. But I will meet angry Olgas all the time. Like, hey, I'm Olga. And now everybody goes and say, Olga. Because the thing is, the kid talks to the monster, and the monster only responds, Olga. I go like, oh, that was super interesting what you just said, And I thought I was being so creative about this dynamic of the kid understanding what Olga was saying, but we only hear Olga, like all of us hear Olga. And then I realized, going back to Chewbacca and Han Solo, that's how they communicate, because Han Solo They go like that. Do you have the keys to the Millennium Falcon? And Chewbacca says, "Wah." And we don't understand, but Han Solo understands. And then he did the same thing with R2-D2 and C-3PO, because R2-D2 goes beep boop beep boop, and the other goes like, "Oh, that's fascinating." And so and Olga kind of have the R2-D2 frame, but the hairy thing, or the Chewbacca's hair. So that's how my brain works, which is, and I thought, well, once I did the first 2 or 3 strips, I thought, well, maybe I'll revisit this character a couple more times, because how much a monster that only says Olga can give you creatively. And I've been doing it for like 10 years, and it keeps popping up and all this, and still it says only Olga. Except for one time where I got a lot of people angry. And this thing, like here you have no idea because you got like Bart Simpson. But in Argentina, for some reason, this thing got huge. And people will come to me and go like, "Hey, look at this, dude." Boom. And they have like an Olga tattoo here and Olga tattoo there. Yeah, sometimes they're not good tattoos at all. And you're like, "Ah." Excellent. and I was doing this thing for 10 years almost, and then I thought it would be funny if like the Olga goes like, "Olga," it's with a little kid, and then a woman shows up, and Olga goes like, "Olga, finally, I've been calling you all this time, and where were you?" I thought that was going to be so much fun. So I did that strip, and everybody freaked out. Like, "No, dude, Olga doesn't speak." And then I started having fun because everybody was so angry. I got like in Twitter, people wanted, "I'm going to kill you if you don't stop it, man." Olga said at some point that her real name was Ukelele Bronson. That made it worse for some reason. And eventually, it was all just a dream. And then Olga said Olga, and everything was fine again. But that's the type of things where I really enjoy my job, is when you get to misbehave, or even, by your own little set of rules, you go like, "I'm going to break them now. I'm going to be, naughty." So that's a thing. And then, there's another little trick I can tell, before we go to the questions and answers, Q&A spot. This is a New Yorker that didn't work. I have a lot of them. I have a lot of New Yorkers. This one didn't work. But I think I have one that did. But this one worked. Yeah. There's a trick here, though. And this is the other excellent trick for, if you guys want to go into cartooning. This is an amazing, amazing trick of how to make a drawing very good. So you do a little doodle, no? And you're trying to make it good because, you want to impress the audience. And you're going like that. And then you start to get angry because you go like, this is not good at all. And then you're angry and, So you have this, right? And you're like, "Oh my God, this sucks." And you're angry and you're going like, "I'm not talented at all." And there's a way of making this super crappy drawing like into an excellent drawing very fast. If you want to time me, suddenly you guys are going to go like, "That's a really good drawing. Oh my God." And you just have to do this, and now it's now you do something like that, and so remember, it was such a bad drawing. It's a Sol Steinbergian interesting comment on the experience. Oh, there's a building. Oh my God, yes, in New York sometimes it rains. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So, you know what? Yeah, it has like amazing covers, but also that little logo on top. Just cover the logo and you go like, yeah, it works. It's good. Yeah. So, yes. Now we could go to the questions and answer No? Yeah, Liza was like, she's directing everything from them. So, any questions and answers? Will provide the answers, by the way. I don't care what any of you think right now. You should care about it. Now, any questions?
Are you still at the school?
I'm still at the Center for Cartoon Studies. I'm still around. You know, they every now and then someone that was going to do a talk or something, you know, they can come for some reason and they go like, Ricardo, hello. And I'll be there every time because it's just so much fun talking to students. And so I have a question for the little girl in the front row.
Why does Olga have like one eye, the small eye, have like, it's like small and the other one's big?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Your name? Clemmy wonders why Olga's eyes are strabic. Because it's a monster that was designed to protect a little kid, you know? So if someone is coming from here and someone is coming from here, Olga has like a very wide, you know, and then long arms to destroy the whatever, you know, bullies are coming their way, and short legs because I don't know.
What happens if somebody's coming straight up?
Oh, the thing is Olga, it's imaginary. They run right through Olga. I don't know. I don't know if it works. One of the strips here, Olga eats a kid. I don't know if that happened actually or not. Yeah, that's open to interpretation, I guess. Thank you for your question. That was very interesting. Oh, I have the best kids. I don't know you guys, but mine. And then there's another thing I wanted to share with you guys. Another aspect of Macanudo, which is this thing. So when I started doing comics, I always thought I was not a very good draftsman. You know, like you would see Bill Watterson or Robert Crumb, and you would love the way they draw, and you go like, I'm not that good. And it was impossible to me. How do you come up with an original design of a character? Like, that's impossible. So what I did, my first character, and I'm very proud of this character, was I was a big fan of Matt Groening. You know, Matt Groening has this, the Life in Hell rabbit. You know, like that. Before The Simpsons, he had Life in Hell, which was this amazing strip. Then the other thing that blew my mind when I was 18, 19, and I read every, 10 years or so, is Mouse. You know, the Art Spiegelman's amazing book. And me being very, very bad at drawing, I thought, this is my first character. I thought, if I take the ears of Matt Groening, and I take the lower part of the mouse, then what we have is an original design by Ricardo. Oh my God. And since I'm married to a lawyer, I checked with her. She was like, you are on the, you're absolutely safe. They can't touch you, Ricardo. This is amazing. So this was one of my first characters. And at some point, I started doing like autobiographical comics, and I would draw myself with my hair and my, things. And I did not like it. And I remember those early rabbits that I would draw. So one day I did this very fast, like I was on a trip, and I drew myself as a rabbit, And I thought, oh, that's cool. And I need to get this off my chest right now, because one of the things that propelled me into not drawing myself as I am right now is because at that moment I have discovered this amazing comic called American Elf. I don't know if you guys know it, but so I had this American Elf, and this was this crazy guy drawing one comic per day, like a very simple idea of something that happened in the day, and it was like a beautiful, subtle, sometimes funny, sometimes weird. Who is this guy? And it's this guy called James Kochalka, and he's so good. And he draws himself as an elf, and I will draw very well the James Kochalka elf, which is exactly like this. Mine is way more pretty, but it's really nice to see James smiling right there, because you definitely was one of the, oh, I'm stealing from this guy. But then my life is so crazy that, because when you do these things, you know, you do, I'm going to draw myself as a rabbit. The first thing I thought was of Life in Hell. And Matt Groening, when he draws himself within the comics of Life in Hell, he draws himself like with a beard or whatever, and he's also a rabbit. And I thought, when I first did myself as a rabbit, I thought, I was in Buenos Aires. It was, he'll never find out. There's no way. You know, I'm in Buenos Aires, he's in Springfield. There's no way he'll ever find out. And then one day, my sister in Buenos Aires calls me on the phone and says, Ricardo, do you remember my friend Agustina from school? I was like, yeah, I remember. Yeah. And she's very pretty. And she says, well, she is the girlfriend of Matt Groening. Yeah, Groening, you know, the guy that makes The Simpsons. And I'm like, what? So, turns out Matt Groening, they have like a lot of kids now, and he's married to the friend of my sister. And so I go to meet this guy, and I had to, you know, Matt, you know, the rabbits. I had to come out and just, you know, say, I'm so sorry, please don't sue. And turns out he's fine with the money he has. He doesn't need mine. So he was like, hey man, this is excellent. It worked for me. Go for it. Yeah. And then also my publisher in New York for the New Yorker and this thing is Françoise Mouly, and of course Françoise is married to Art Spiegelman, the creator of Mouse. So I also had to go to Art Spiegelman and go like, hey Art, I'm sorry. And this keeps happening I meet the people that I steal from, and they are always super nice when I come out, and, you know. So I would like to present this oeuvre for James. I'm sorry. I love the elf.
I gotta say, you definitely made it. Okay, so I didn't know who this guy was. I just started getting pieces of artwork in the mail from him. Beautifully painted pieces of artwork from some guy in Argentina who I'd never heard of. I don't understand why he's sending me things. So, you know, that makes it all very forgivable.
Yay! I'm doing a 3 for 3 now. Phew. No, but the thing with the thing I sent you was in Spain they published one of your books, and they asked me to do a prologue. I went like, yeah, I'm doing the prologue. And then I did this thing and I sent it to you. I was like, he won't understand it because it's in Spanish, but yeah. So nice to see you.
Also, you're one of the Macanudo collections. You hand painted every cover, right?
Yes, that was another super stupid thing I did. Good question, sir. So I was, Macanudo 1, 2, 3, they were coming out, and everyone the cover is very different. One from the one before, the Macanudo 3, that's, for sale here. It's embroidered. I embroidered it myself over one very hot summer in Buenos Aires. I thought it would look cool, something embroidered in the cover of, that would then scan the thing, and that would be the cover. And I remember, it was a hot summer, and I was like in my underwear embroidering this thing. And Angie opened the door and went like, oh no. But we are still married. And yeah. I was a very sexy embroidering man. And then, at some point, my publisher in Buenos Aires, we were talking about all these different ideas for covers, and she said, oh, you're so crazy, one day you'll do them all by hand. And everybody laughed, and I went like, my eyes opened like that. And then Angie and I, we started publishing. You're going to have the last question, little girl. And so, is it about this?
Yes.
Yes. What do you want to know?
One of the Macanudos is a scribble.
Oh, like a very fast scribble? Yeah, because I was very tired. You don't have to say that here. You have to say that they're all super good.
What you sent me was like fully painted, like
Yes.
it looked like a couple hours of work.
Yes, I did not do all of them like that. Because then with Angie, when we started publishing ourselves, we thought now is the chance. Now nobody can tell us this is crazy, don't do it. So Angie wanted me to do 1,000 covers, and I was going to print them all in blank covers, and I was going to do them all by hand. And Angie said 1,000, and I was like, no, it has to be an epic number. And I kept saying epic number, I had no idea why. And Angie said, no, it's going to be 2,000, 3,000, and it ended up being 5,000 books. Yes, everybody goes like, and yeah. So we did not think this thing through. First, 5,000 books is a lot of boxes of books. They all come to our house. They all smell of glue and ink recently, printed. So Matilda was she was like 6 months old, our first little baby, and we were all having like super strange dreams with all the glue from the book. Like, whoa. But then I get these boxes, and I open the first box, and I put 20 books like that, and I write Macanudo, and I draw the cat by Liniers, number 6. Cha. Wow, Macanudo. And I thought, this is so avant-garde. This is like raw, man. This is like every cover, every book is going to be different because it's 100. Oh my God, this is so fascinating. Number 20. Yes. Number 300. Yes. This is so cool. By number 3,000, I was crying like. All these, used up markers in the floor. My wife, telling me, the distributor called, we need 200 more. No. And we didn't want to, I didn't want it to be like an expensive book because I had done the drawings. I wanted the drawings to be kind of a gift. So we kept, pushing the price, like the smallest we could make the price. And then there was some inflation, so we lost a lot of money on this thing. And 5,000 books by hand. But then, every now and then you have a friend or someone that you have been inspired by, which is way more elegant to say than still. And you will do like a really nice watercolor and say, hey, for James. Yeah. So you got one of the good ones. The other ones suck, but they're very interesting, very interesting. So that was another adventure. Yes. Any other questions? I don't know, Liza? Yes.
Do the Olgas, are they available anywhere?
The like this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason people come to my signings, especially like in Chile for some reason. And there must be like a fad or something where everybody's doing this, because they always bring me. This is something someone brought to me. No, do you think there's money to be made? I think so too. Yeah. A T-shirt, a little like a Happy Meal, Yeah, no, I do have in Buenos Aires some merchandising. We have some people that do like books and stuff, like agendas and calendars, and at some point it got crazy. I remember being offered like these people that made refrigerators wanted to do like a whole thing with Olga in a refrigerator, and I was like, that's weird. No, thanks. But generally, no, I do not like to make a lot of stuff. I just like to make it like something nice. But this one, somebody gave me. Yeah.
So who's making them?
Nice people around the world. Yes.
Is there a film option?
A film option. Oh, wow. This only happens like in the States. When you're talking in Buenos Aires, nobody goes, oh, this guy is gonna make money. The questions are more like, dude, are you making a living out of this? So, I don't know, we came here to the States like, just to steal jobs from you. So I'm pretty sure someone in Hollywood, I will be able to steal their job, and they were going to make, the Elf movie. Yes, it's going to be so much money for James Kochalka. No, it's going to be Olga movie. No, I was so nice with him in the bookstore. No, yes. So yeah. I don't know. It's the one thing that's taken me by surprise here is our fantasy when we came here with the family was we wanted to have like an experience as a family. I wanted the girls to be in another different culture, different language, different people, to kind of open the horizons, the world, or whatever. And I thought, well, I'll be there. I have some publishers in New York, some publishers in Montreal. So I thought, it's going to be fun. But I thought, yeah, that's it. Not much will come out of this, other than. But then I end up like in Dartmouth, doing all the Carpe Diem stuff. I so did Carpe Diem. They are all like 20 years old. They didn't see the movie. So you go like Carpe Diem, and they go like, oh, that's fascinating, dude. Thank you, Mr. Williams. And then the New York Times and like all these things, all these crazy doors start opening. And you go like, yeah, sure, we'll see. So, yeah, the movies, I don't know. Yes.
How do you draw? With what? With the magic marker or with kind of the shade?
Yeah, I am very like old school because I'm very bad at computers. Like I'm the last guy who was born that my parents, they have trouble with control remotes. They're like, this do what? And I go like, and I turn on the TV. Like I am that good with a control remote. But I am like my fathers are with control remotes. I'm with computers. I'm like, oh no, I deleted everything. Oh, and my brother who was born, generation behind me, he's amazing. He's, give TED talks about, AI or whatever. So I'm very bad at computers. So all the strips, punk. It's all watercolor and ink. So I will do the pencil, start with the pencil. Once the idea, I go like, that's interesting. I'll do ink on top, and then I watercolor on top. And also, it's because I don't know, I need these things to kind of exist tangibly. Yeah. I'm really old school. So I need, the records to be something that you put, and, I need the books to be something that I can see. This thing, buy books. Because for me, when I finish a book, other people kill like a deer and they have like a head of the deer and they go like, oh, I remember when I killed a deer, yeah. But for me, it's like, I read, Roberto Bolaño. That was a difficult read. I will need to see every now and then that book, 2666. Every now and then go like, yeah, I read that. That's my deer. That's my Leviathan. So, I'm very old school. So, yes.
So it's not going to be Olga Macanudo Kindle version.
I have to talk with the lawyer. No, I think the cool thing about comic books, it's that almost no one wants to read comics on a pad or. It's just, there's one thing that we know how to do is a beautiful book. It looks nice. It's something you want to share with your kids or with your friends. And hey, you read this. This is strange. Go read it. And it's a completely different experience for me when I'm reading and you're falling asleep and then you go like that. It kind of smells as a book, and you go, than having a Kindle, be drooling over the Kindle, and then you go, oh, it broke at night, oh, crappy Kindle. So yeah, I'm very, also I read a couple of books on Kindle, and I'm not sure if I read them. I'm very confused as to, did I read that or did I not? Because I don't have the little thing. Time for one more. I think we're done. Clemmy?
Is Olga a happy monster or what? Emotionally, what's Olga?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I have no idea, because the expression on Olga, I once made Olga smile, and it was so scary, because all the teeth, and it was a time I was running Olga as a president in Argentina, like for an imaginary party. And I remember making the lists have numbers there, list 1, list 5, and it was list square root of -1. Yeah, there's like two like really nerdy math people, and all you guys are not, because that's an imaginary number, and I have no idea why. I looked it up, and I made some posters, of Olga Martin and Olga were making some posters for the campaign, and Olga smiled because politicians smiling and they are way scarier than where they are angry when they smile, and it happened the same to Olga. So she never smiled or is very angry. It's just, but. I think it's, Martin is the one interpreting it, and we are reading Olga through that guy, So, yeah, yeah.
You mentioned being here to have an experience in a different culture,
Yeah.
daughters and stuff. So what is it that you maybe miss most about your home country, the culture there, and being here? Maybe what surprised you the most that you find maybe difficult or good?
We came here August 2016. So, the surprise came around November, because everyone I met was like, "Nah, it can't happen. This is crazy," And you go like, "You guys are playing with fire. Even if it can't happen, it's crazy." And then I remember being here the day of the election with Angie. We were watching late night, and it was like, why would they do that? I never seen someone shoot themselves in the foot, but go like, I'm gonna grab a bazooka. Yes. Why? It's even if you have why? And it was also heartbreaking. I remember we went here to the Norwich Inn to have dinner the next day, and someone heard us talking in Spanish, and he came to our table and said like, "Oh, so you're where are you from?" "We're from Argentina." And suddenly he started crying like, "I'm so sorry, this is not my country. My daughter is married to some guy from Mexico, and I can't believe that this is my country." Yeah, that was a surprise. And I think it's gone so crazy. I think it was even crazy when Oprah gave that speech, and everybody started going like, "Hey, Oprah, she has to be the president." No. Don't put megalomaniacs, if they're from the right or the left, onto, politicians are weird enough. But, yeah, and I think Oprah is cool. But the next day after she gave the speech, someone was in the CNN or whatever going like, "Oh, that speech was amazing. And the cool thing about Oprah is she's not an egocentric." And I was, what? Her name in the magazine is, it's the Oprah Club. She's all over. People say Oprah is a saint, and she goes like, well, maybe. She's not a normal human being. So don't pick people from TV. Just, let's keep TV outside of politics. So that was a surprise, an interesting one. I know for the rest of our lives we'll be watching documentaries and movies and installations and like weird stuff on these years that we are living here. So that's the strange one. The nice surprise, and it was a great surprise for us, especially for me, was we lived for a while with Angie in Montreal, and before we have kids, and Canadians are very very nice, but extremely, like, they take their time to know you. They can take, so it takes a lot of time for them to, come to our house. And Argentinians were very like, come, you can sleep in the couch, in the futon, And here everyone was so warm. It was incredible. Like I was not expecting to meet so many people, to make so many friends. And now you go like, oh no. So now, because the one thing I miss from Argentina are my friends. I don't miss the strikes and the angry people in the street, or the buses, or the, crazy economic upheavals. But the people are cool. The people are fun. And then I come here, and then I meet all these new people, and you go like, oh no. Now when I go back, I have to miss this bunch. Wow. Another trick played on Ricardo. So, but that was an amazing thing, and I think this little experiment that could have been horribly wrong, or it could have been, the kids could have not liked it or whatever. It's been amazing, and Norwich is just being the best place ever to just pop into. So yeah, go Norwich, woohoo! And Vermont in general, and wherever we go, people are super nice. We get invited all the time to different stuff, and so yeah, cool bunch. You're a nice bunch. Yeah. So, I think
It's a great place to end.
that's yes. Always end on demagoguery.